Welcome. My name's Di. This is Lightroom Forecast. This is a reading for the global collective community. Today is the partial full moon eclipse in Gemini. And so this is part of our Tides and Time section, where each month we look at the full moon. We do a reading on the full moon and a reading on the new moon. So today's layout, which I do at this point like to be guided by a layout for these readings, and maybe over time things become a little bit more fluid as we go. So this is a layout that I like to call a housekeeping layout. So we just have a good idea of what's going on in the waves around us. We'll be clarifying with my own map, with my own deck, the journey map deck. And today I will be reading from the book that goes with the journey map. I will be reading the attributes, the explanations of each card from the book, just to give you an idea of the layers that exist within this deck. And it is very appropriate for moon-based readings, because in this deck we start with a character called the Captain, who exists within the moon and tide. His guides. And the second card in this deck is the Navigator. So we are taken from the waters up to the stars to see the maps that lie above, that guide us as much as the moon and tide. The star points, the ancient navigator's map. So anyway, let's get into it. So this reading, the first card position is overarching energy at this time of this partial full moon eclipse that is here today. It's a Monday here in Aotearoa. It is in New Zealand. It's the 30th of November. Oh. Too many. Just one card for overarching energies at this time of the moon. Well, I was, wow, we get this Gemini full moon. We get a very Geminian card. We get the beautiful Queen, the Queen of Swords. And in this deck, the Thoth Lady Frida Harris deck, she sits way above those clouds with her one sword of clarity and truth. I always think of her as a piece of very precisely cut crystal. The next position is our choice at this time, our choices, what those choices are for you. We have the Prince of Wands. a very fiery individual, the prince, but he hasn't quite made it to his throne yet. His throne is moving quite fast, without much consideration. It's interesting because before I started the readings, I always do a short meditation. And the image that I was seeing, as you do, was really reaching the top of this, what a arduous hill to climb, and reaching the top, and been so used to kind of digging in those footholes over the distance of reaching this great pinnacle, and the relief of being at the top, of having all this blast of fresh air, and knowing that the descent down the other side is going to be so much easier, even though there are potholes and roots to hold on to, so much easier than where we've come from thus far. I think with this, with planetary shifts, and as I say, I'm not an astrologer, but there is they exist as a continuum backwards and forwards and over time, and we all understand that time is not necessarily linear. But this continuum is just that. And I think it's important at this time to look back a fortnight ago at the new moon in Scorpio, and just think about what was going on then for you. It might be quite helpful at this time. So in the position of choice, we have the Prince of Wands, very impulsive character. Now, challenges at this time. Challenges presented. There's new information coming in, and therefore new learning. Wow. As we say that, who should jump out but one of my favourite cards? The Queen, the beautiful, fiery Queen. On the end of her staff, we see the pine cone, which is so representative of the pineal gland, or the pineal gland. And there we have her spotted leopard, as if a familiar, sitting beside her on her throne. She has overcome so much to get to her throne, and to be sitting there happily. She keeps her leopard beside her to remind her of the hurdles that all through that suit of wands that she bound over, she managed to get to the point where she is now a queen. And speaking of learning and new information, she has been open to this intellectually, in a kind of psychic, intellectual, emotional way. She's opened her mind, and there she sits in all her fiery and glorious glory. What other words? I think I need to extend my vocabulary for this beautiful card in the position of choice. Challenge. The Prince of Wands sits in choice. And the overarching energy is the Queen. So we have two queens. It's very personality based, isn't it? Two queens. What do we see at this time as traits or qualities to embody for ease? For ease and success. Not necessarily success, more qualities to embody for ease, please. Wow. Excuse me. We seem to often be crouching down there. Wonderful. Wonderful. We see the Seven of Discs appear in a way that has a very gentle aura around it. The Seven of Discs is a card of review. It's a card of reviewing. I think a lot of people are doing this at this time simply. It is nearing the end of the year. It's a card of review, of almost seeing what has come thus far from our efforts. What do we see appearing in our world, very much in our material world? But the directive, which I feel really strongly with the Seven, is that be gentle with yourself. Be very gentle with yourself, not harsh. We do what we can do at any given time when we're reviewing. Often we tend to possibly be maybe a little too self-critical. We are, of course, our own worst critic. The directive here is to not be your harsh critic about efforts that you've put in, about not seeing results. Results can appear in ways that you don't fully understand initially. And later, you see the great import of that fruition. So I think this is quite beautiful. Keep going. Keep going. We're nearly there at the end of this year. And on the 14th, I believe, of December, there is a solar eclipse in Sagittarius, and we will be doing a reading at that time. So now we'll clarify these cards. As I said, I'm going to use my journey map deck, and we'll be reading from the book. So I hope it doesn't appear too wooden. Hopefully not. But as I mentioned before we began, we start with the captain in this deck. And then the navigator. These are our initial coordinates as we move through. As above, so below. There's a reflective, mirroring quality about these two characters. So we'll just give the cards another good shuffle. We need to be clear at this time. We need to really be clear in regards our own personal truth. Our own personal truth. and without being too harsh, certainly with ourselves, but also with others. Do not be too harsh or impulsive. Not at this point. So let's see what the journey map has for us when we look at the Queen of Swords in the position, the positione of overarching energies here. We have one card, please. One card. Wow. We get beautiful revelation. This has so many things and qualities in this card of revelation. We see a desire to celebrate. We see an internal celebration going on because what we've realized some great truth, a great personal truth about our own elevation, our own growth, but we'll continue. And I will read this out before we shuffle the rest of the cards. So this may present as being slightly disjointed, but I hope it doesn't come across in that way. The qualities of revelation, and remembering that this isn't the overarching energy position at this time of this partial eclipse in Gemini. With revelation, you have penetrated the veil or membrane that exists between dimensions upon this earth. The intangible becomes very real, and you have a sense of wanting to explain that to others. But take note, this is not necessary. This card asks you to continue your journey without trying to rationalize it to yourself or anyone else. In your life, you may soon see the benefits of your work and your elevation and understanding of your own internal building. And this is a 7-story building relating to the chakra system through the body. It is your inner mansion. Know you are protected and realize that this card appearing tells you to continue your internal journey without needing acceptance or understanding from others. There's an ancient saying here, if I can use the word saying, which is to know, to will, to dare, and to be silent. In this card, you see that you do not need others' validation of where you sit within that. It's beautiful, especially with the Queen of Swords. It is about clarity. It's about an epiphany. Prince of Wands, please, in the position of choice, this fiery prince. I always think of the prince in terms of fire and ice. Hot, cold. Like some sort of crystallization process. One card for the Prince of Wands, please. Thank you. Wow. This is beautiful. The power of choice. The Monast is about been able to exist within two worlds. And I will read this again. In the future, I won't. I think it becomes a little bit disjointed. But for today, we will. The monast knows what it requires to walk in the world, to work and to keep business ticking over while retaining personal discipline of mind, body and spirit. He encourages a sense of detachment and tells us that this will increase and enhance our ability to give and receive. He also tells us that this will create an internal space of calm and peace, allowing objectivity and comfort to reside within our busy mind. He has gone within to find his own personal truth, a challenge, yet a necessity in creating an internal sanctuary in this hectic and fast-moving world. Personal truth comes again as choice, on from Revelation and the Queen of Swords. We see personal truth, and we see in the monast his graduation. He's graduated. And what I also like, which I don't know whether you can see, is a little grasshopper on his shoulder. That's quite lovely. Okay, now we venture into the position of challenge, where we see the Queen of Wands, who really has, who really has reached her throne and overcome, and has overcome many obstacles and hurdles within her own mind. But she has been open to learning, open to being able to receive new information. So let's see what we have for our challenge. Look, I know I repeat myself, but you really can't make these things up. We get the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency. This is the heart card. It's from where all things radiate outward. And I kind of always think of it like all roads lead to Rome, and all roads lead back to Rome, from and to. It's a self-generating system. It's magnetic. And it is about heart-centered focus. So this is so appropriate in the position of challenge, I feel. In the position of challenge. And that heart-centered focus is not just for others. We must have that. We must encourage that within ourselves and have that for ourselves before we can really allow it out, allow it for others to receive. And there are lots of reasons for that. But I will just read it from the Journey Map book. Central generator, transmitter, access, hotspot, compassion and self-forgiveness. Self-forgiveness is a huge part of the Central Intelligence Agency, which is the heart. When the CIA appears, it is telling you that indeed you truly understand from practice and first-hand experience the benefits of realizing that the heart and heart love is from whence all things come and is that which all things return to. This is the central point in the wheel of life. As we see in the first card of the Captain, the wheel that steers the ship, the wheel of fortune. As above, so below. All roads lead to and from the centre. This is a card of self-mastery, transcendence, a card of beauty and truth. It supports you in the practice of self-love and forgiveness and encourages you to continue the self-care through the major shifts and changes in your life. This enriches the lives of others that you have contracts with also. Family, friends, and all the people within your sphere. This is the key to balance and well-being, and a channel that connects us all to the great source of light, life, energy, which we are all part of, in whatever way you choose to perceive this. In this card we see simultaneously the micro to the macro. And the directive here is to continue the good work. You have allowed yourself this sight. I love that card because it really is the center of the wheel. So let's just get a card for what is the traits for ease and success over this time of this beautiful, vibrant, and fast moving, it feels, partial lunar eclipse in Gemini. We're reviewing. We're reviewing what we've put energy into and what we see comes from this without being too harsh. Very important. Just one card. I've got two cards that popped out. Excuse me. Now this came up in one of the readings the other day. Adaptation, which is about new connectors in the brain. It's about being open. It's very much like the pineal gland, seeing from new perspectives because of absorbing, being open to absorb new information, getting that spark of new connectors, that electrical charge in your brain. We also, traits for ease and success, we get the card of need, which is a beautiful card, I feel. And I will read this from the book. Bear with me, beautiful people. Bear with me. We come to need. We come to figure out need. What is it? What is it about? And remember, in the position of traits for ease and success, more so ease at this time. Need is about boundaries, congruency, balance, temperance, and honouring integrity. This card asks you to look at and understand how you delineate your wants from your needs. I personally find this quite difficult at times. Are you honouring your own boundaries in situations and relationships? We can easily sublimate our own self-freedom and ability to evolve. Everything in this reading is pointing to the fact that we have, of course, there's an evolutionary energy to it. Where was I? our ability to evolve. Observe your heart. Now this is the challenge. The heart appears in the challenge position. Observe your heart and will centers in meditation or quiet time to ascertain the connection between the two. You may also notice if there are a lot of dramas happening around you constantly, being played out over and over again, repetitive in nature. This may well indicate that your head and heart have become disconnected in turn, leaving your will in an impotent state. So we see some balance between the heart and the heart, between the mind and the heart is so crucially important. But of course we can't constantly be balanced. It's an ongoing challenge. But when the heart and the mind have become disconnected in turn, leaving your will in an impotent state, we need clarity and a temperance are required here. It seems that clarity is all around us with our initial card, the beautiful Queen of Swords, the Queen of Clarity. Straight down the line. No mucking around. That's what it feels like after that journey going up that hill. Now we've got more air coming in. We've got more air coming in. We're looking beyond those clouds. We can see the savannah out in front of us. But the directive for this reading, that it feels to me, is that our choice is to walk in two different worlds at once. It's very difficult. We can't always take time out the way that it has been in terms of working, and we can't suddenly wander off, unfortunately, into the bush and unless we choose to, and have a retreat, or in whatever form it would take for you. We can't always do that. And in the Monast, we see that we can still balance the inner and outer worlds, and that our challenges is to always come back to the heart. The heart does not set us on any wrong path. It's to be heart-centered and heart-based. I think that's a global, for human nature, I think that's been a global challenge forever. To see that self-forgiveness is an incredible explosive key to action change. And then we see qualities for ease and success. I say ease and success. It's more about personal ease. Is our review of what we have worked on, what we've put our energy into. not to be too harsh on ourselves if we don't necessarily see those results currently. We have adaptation, the card of really going forward and creating new connectors. What are those things maybe in your life that if you just shifted your perspective a little bit, if you just moved those scales, played around with them a wee bit, to see another angle to your life, your situation, any given situation, whatever it happens to be. You delineate your wants from your needs by having a balance between your mind and your heart. Those, it appears in today's reading, are qualities to take on for ease. So I think that's quite gorgeous. It really is. Well, I thank you so much for joining me today. We'll have another Time and Tides reading around the 14th of December. Wow, things are going so fast at the moment. That's what it feels like here. So thank you once again for joining me. I really hope you found something in this reading, something of interest and something of comfort. Please do like, share and subscribe to this channel in its very newest state. I'm looking forward to growing this channel and the community of people who join me. Thank you so much. Take care.